On this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast, garage sale negotiations. So, welcome back to this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast. My name is Shawn Yesner, owner and founder of Yesner Law, and I'm joined remotely by your financial coach, George Corbello. How you doing, George?
Shawn, it's a pleasure doing well. It's good to be remote. We still get it. We still get a recording in, but I'm doing good, feeling well. I got a story for you though. It's funny stuff. My dog, I love my dog, but my dog is now creating debt in my house. And you want to? It's a funny story though. It's real quick. So
Okay.
we have a vacuum. My dog she gets a little nervous when we leave her, when we leave the house and stuff like that. And again, very rare that she's alone. My goodness, I work remotely.
Right.
She's not home that many often by herself. She chews on the end of the vacuum cord, the plug,
Good.
locks it right off. She has the thing is the funny thing is she's surrounded the evidence of the cord being knocked out and stuff like that. It's surrounded by dog toys. So it's not like she didn't have anything to chew. She just
Right.
chose to take care of the expense that is obviously added to me. So now I got to buy a new vacuum. So
She
yeah,
she she
that's tough.
chose she chose violence.
Yes. We're not in talking terms right now. So I guess right now I'll forgive her eventually. She's a very cute dog, but she's
Okay.
on my doo-doo list right now. So yeah, debt comes from everywhere, my friend. Expenses
There you
come from
go.
everywhere.
So
Even our kids and our dogs.
I've got a dog story as well. My kids, which kind of leads into the topic of today's episode as well. So my kids really want a dog, and I probably will end up getting them one. I would like to go to the pound. I mean, when people know that you want a dog, they start sending you breeders and all this
Yeah,
stuff, and I'm like, I'm not gonna breed this dog. I'm probably gonna fix it, as soon as it's old enough to be fixed. So
sure.
I don't want to spend all this money on a purebred dog. I'd much rather go to the pound or something.
Yeah,
So,
plenty of dogs available, I can imagine.
right. So I had a friend of mine who went out of town, and I said, "Well, we'll watch your dog. It'll be good practice for the boys." I've been around dogs forever. This is probably the longest I've ever been without a dog.
Sure.
So yeah, we babysat our dog, and the boys did great. The dog would cuddle with them at night. They would walk it in the morning. They would walk it when they got home from school. They'd walk him at night before bed. They'd feed
Sure,
him.
sure.
So we never got the opportunity to give the dog a bath. He was only here with us for about 3-4 days, but everything else they did really well. And so I'm thinking to myself, yeah,
Uh-oh.
I probably will get them a dog. So so we'll see.
It's not too bad. I have two of them, so I get it. Even though I occasionally don't like them, they're a very good addition to the family. So I absolutely understand the plight and should we, shouldn't we? But if your kids help, and that's the thing. Everybody says in my house, "Oh, we're gonna help. Of course, we're gonna walk the dog." And again, I always end up, walking,
Right.
feeding. Well, feeding my wife does a lot more, but I definitely end up walking. Yeah, so it's good
Yeah.
steps for you if you're ready for the steps.
So my younger son has to do a physical fitness merit badge for Boy Scouts, and he's like, I don't know when I'm going to be able to walk and run and do this and do that. I'm like, we had a dog for 3 days.
There you
We could have
go.
all gone out and taken the dog for a walk. But the way that this I think factors into the topic of today's episode. So we've done a few of these episodes before, a few being 9. So I think this is our 10th episode. My community garage sales are not allowed in my community by the HOA guidelines. And so twice a year, the HOA says, okay, we're going to hold a community wide garage sale. And
Nice.
so they always hold it the first weekend in May and the first weekend in October. So as you're listening to this, we're probably going to be in the second or so, third or so week of May. But we had our garage sale the first week of May. And my son did a couple of things. My older son did a couple of things that really kind of made me proud. So, and then one thing that didn't. So, the first thing he did was he went with a buddy of his and they went around the neighborhood and they offered to wash garbage cans and recycling cans to raise money. And so they got their first client. They made one sale. The guy I think Venmoed them $20, which is something that I have in my notes to talk about later. Venmoed them $20, so they split it $10 each. And yeah, but I think my older son said, $10 washing garbage cans, I'm not going to raise a lot of money very quickly. But one of
Right.
the funny things that he did was he said to me, well, I can get this hose attachment where you can fill the attachment with soap, and so it'll spray soapy water at the garbage cans.
Sure.
And I said, okay, how much is this thing? And he said, $20. And I said, well, you made 10. You wash one more garbage can with your buddy, that'll be another 10, and then you can afford the $20 to buy the hose attachment.
There you go.
He's like, but then I won't have any money from the garbage cans. I'm like, that's how business works.
Look,
you, you cover your overhead, you cover your material supplies with your
right.
revenue, and that allows you to get better equipment to make more revenue faster. Well, that didn't work for him. So
Was it his speed? He's like
no,
that's a really cute lesson, but no.
yeah. So he ended up calling an investor. He ended
Ah,
up calling grandma,
grandma. Okay, I was about to say.
who bought him the hose attachment
Nice.
that
Okay.
he wanted. So yeah, so he did that. So he got the hose attachment, but it still wasn't making him money fast enough. So where I drop him off and pick him up to go to school every day is at the golf club, the neighborhood golf club here. And so what he started doing was getting there early, and then I would show up, a few minutes after he gets dropped off by the
Yeah.
bus. And in that time, he goes and he finds golf balls. And then he would bring them home. And so he ended up filling three of the 18-pack egg cartons of golf balls.
Okay.
So where I'm going with this, we had our garage sale as we record this. We had our garage sale yesterday,
Always
and
fun.
it was fun. We had a good time. We probably made as a group, the three of us, me, my two boys, we probably made about $50, $60, something like that.
Yeah.
My older son made $45,
Not
and
bad. How
the
many
way
hours?
how many hours?
Yeah.
So the garage sale, I think we were out there at like 9:30 is when we set up, and we shut it down at like 12:30.
Not bad. All right. So 3 hours. Not too bad
Yeah.
at all. Okay. Okay.
So, isn't minimum wage now $15?
Yeah. That's what I'm
So
saying.
there you
It's
go.
not bad.
So it was equal to minimum wage. And yeah, he sold golf balls. And so now he called me today my in-laws took my boys to Walmart, and he called me today and he said, Walmart sells used golf balls. I'm like, okay. He said I could buy, 40 of them for $20, and then I can resell them. And I'm like, well, you could do that, but the next garage sale is 5 months away. In 2 weeks, you
Sure.
got three egg cartons full of golf balls. What could you do in 5 months? Do you really want to spend the $20 to buy golf balls that you're not going to resell for 5 months? And so I think he decided not to get the golf balls, and he's just going to
Okay.
continue collecting.
But
But
again, you've got him thinking. And I think that's critical in these kind of situations for a young man itself is to kind of like, what options do I have? What's the return and investment, right? That's what they're looking for as part of these. So there's huge lessons. But he's also looking at like, again, get rich quick.
right,
So the scheming is still there. So we still got to work on that, but it's definitely, some really good lessons that we can take from that. But it's hilarious how, I mean, there's motivation when you got to make
yeah,
money, and there's all of us, even as adults, right? It's the same thing. Like we're all looking for that opportunity for that money itself, and you don't realize like what can a garage sale? We have so much stuff. Again, we always said this in the past, right? We have stuff you
right,
know like take advantage of these types of situations and see if you go on a purge so you can get new stuff, I guess, if that's one way to do it, but also just generate some cash for other things, paying off debt, doing stuff like that. So I mean,
yeah.
you got to think in there where but what lessons do you think what else can he like get better at on that Saturday? Like what are some of the things you saw as part of your observations of your young entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I I was actually kind of proud of them because I really didn't do anything yesterday at the garage sale except set up stuff. I
Nice.
let I let them do all the selling because, you know, I've said a lot on the show that garage sales are really good proving grounds for
Yeah,
developing your negotiation skills because low stakes, low pressure.
it's
You
true.
know, everyone expects there to be some level of haggling at a garage sale. You know, you can kind of get quick feedback in terms of, you know, when I'm negotiating with somebody or somebody's wanting to hire me at the law firm or I'm talking to a vendor. You know, I know that in the law firm, on average, it takes about 2 weeks from when they consult with me until when they hire me. Well, at a garage sale, you get feedback right then. You know, they either
Yeah,
like
that's
the
true.
price and walk away, or they counter, or they don't like, you know, whatever. So you get that quick feedback. And like I've said on other shows, you can experiment with different tactics, different techniques, different, you know, this or that. So you can try to be more distant. You can try to be more quiet. You can try to be more aggressive. You can experiment and find the style that works for you. And so it was funny watching the two of them because my older son knew exactly what he wanted to sell,
Yep.
exactly what he wanted to sell them for. He wrote out on the piece of paper, you know, if you buy this many golf balls, it's this price. If you buy this many golf balls, it's that price. And people just would kind of ignore that sign and just buy the whole and say how much for the whole carton and
Right.
buy the whole egg carton. Meanwhile, my younger son was trying to sell some of his stuff, and somebody would say, "Well, what do you want for this?" And he'd go, well, and he'd look at me, and I'd be like, "How much do you want for it, dude?"
Gotta know what you want for it, right?
And at the beginning, he's selling these books, and he's like, $5. And I'm like, dude, $5 for a book at a garage sale. No. You maybe knock that down to like 50 cents
Right.
or a quarter or something. And part of it too,
I'll
one of
start at
the
$1 and then you work your way. Like, what's the technique they always tell us, right? Start at the so if you want or expect $2, right? Or like, or let's say you want to make at least $1 each off of each. You start at two and negotiate down, right? That there's
right,
giving you room for negotiation. So yeah, definitely a good lesson for him is to kind of like, well, what did you want to make? And again, you're realistic, like $5. Come on, man.
right.
It's a garage sale on a Saturday. Yes, you could, you try to hit up with eBay prices, but again, it's a garage sale. Like this is, it's got to know the difference in regards to if you're trying to sell online and then what you're trying to sell right away, because you don't want to bring the stuff back into the garage, technically, right?
No, I said if anything leaves my house and goes into the garage and goes outside for the garage sale, it doesn't come back in the house. It either gets sold or
Right.
donated or tossed. One of those three. The
One
whole
of the
purpose
three.
is to get it out of my house. And so, and then the other thing, my son was walking around and called me and said, "Hey, I found this. Can I buy it?" And I'm like, "No, the whole point of the garage sale is to get rid of our stuff, not to
He's
buy
getting
other
new
people's
stuff.
stuff." So, but they were practicing that. You know, they were practicing their negotiation skills. We were
Yep.
talking about negotiation skills. You know, they would say to me, one of the big things that I always take away from negotiating is that you don't really want to make the first offer. A lot of times, you
Yeah.
don't really want to make the first offer. Now, if it's something that you put a price on, I guess that's you making the first offer. But you know, otherwise, you really don't want to make the first offer. So if you're buying, it could be, you know, what would you want to sell this for? If you're selling, it could be, well, what do you think a fair price is? And you can start the haggling and then you kind of get an idea of where their head's at. Because if you're trying to sell an egg carton of golf balls for $5 and you say, well, what do you think? And they say, well, I'd be willing to pay 10 for this whole thing of golf balls. Well, then you've done better than what you thought you were going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So trying to teach them, here are all the lessons, here are all the things, here's how to negotiate with people, and then watching them while they do it. And then, of course, at some point in the day, it got too hot, so they came inside and started playing on their iPads.
Dad, that was again, once again, this was good. This was too much though. So we'll let it be you. Go do your thing, and I appreciate you taking over the business. So
Exactly.
I
So,
love it.
real quick for anybody that wants to hear you, we've done a couple of these garage sale episodes. So,
Yeah.
really quick, gosh, episode 68, episode 86, episode 118, episode 145, 168, 241, 270,
Before, right?
uh, 373, and 393. So those are our 9 garage sale episodes. And we go over a lot of some of this stuff in the other episodes, but we
Yes.
always try to put a different angle on it.
No, and I like to hear, I think even with the listeners and for us, it's really understanding like, for me, I always interested like what did your sons learn? I'd imagine if we go back into, what did we learn, obviously as parents and what they're doing as well. But I always like the, again, it's a different take, right? These should get easier as they get older. What lessons are they learning? What are some of the life skills that they're taking on in such a simple task as a garage sale and selling and negotiating? How is that going to impact their, as they grow up, how they're going to manage life as well? These are, like I said, you're giving them opportunities to really put themselves in a position where they're practicing with no pressure. And I love
Right.
that. And again, dad's still there to kind of help out and like, hey, hey, next time don't do this. So that instant feedback that you had mentioned as well. Love that. And I think
Yeah.
I think for our listeners is like, don't, like, we always worry like, oh, maybe they're too young, maybe it's not the right time. But what if they get rejected? Again, we're always in this mode of protection. And what we need to try to do, and I love that, you're doing this as part of, their growth, is to kind of like, okay, you want to make money, here's how to do it. Here's how
Right.
to, you want to negotiate. Hey dad, what is negotiation? What does that mean? You get the opportunity to be able to provide them some guidance, that I imagine you got as you were growing up, and obviously you're taking the opportunity to do for them. So that's
Yeah.
something they'll be grateful in like 40 years.
And they'll get it in like 40 years. Exactly. Well, and some of the other stuff that I was thinking about too, in terms of talking to strangers, building a
Yeah,
rapport with strangers. And, I was there, so everything was safe. And these are all neighborhood people, but
right,
still, starting up a conversation with somebody, being approachable, being likable, being nice, not haggling like a jerk when you're trying to sell, a golf ball or a book or a whatever. You're going to catch more
right.
flies with honey than you are, being a jerk about it. And certainly maybe being a jerk comes into play when you're doing higher stakes negotiating. But at a garage sale, learning the people skills of how to talk to people, how to sell to people, how to haggle without being insulted by
Yeah,
what people are doing. So those are some of the other lessons that I think they really got out of yesterday.
nice. So I think that's, so again, great lessons. They felt good, I'd imagine, at the end of the day. They made some money, met some great
Yeah,
people. Again, for you, it's funny how you mentioned too, like in networking, you get comfortable with talking with people you don't know. That
right,
there's a purpose there. In this instance, instead of it networking, and again, you could network as well, but in their case, it's, being able to be comfortable to talk about a common goal, selling and buying product. It's
right.
amazing. It's amazing what you get to do from that lesson. So kudos to all of the folks involved in this beautiful process. But it's one of those kind of things like what are still, like, we had talked about tips and things for them for selling and negotiation, especially at a garage sale, but just in general. What are some of the other things that we think, that your boys are applying, but what are some of the other things when we go through? There's garage sales every weekend.
Yeah.
What are we
Well,
doing? What are we doing as part of those garage sales?
and I've always said, if you really want to practice your negotiation skills, there are garage sales every weekend. So just
There is
go to a garage sale with, $5, $10,
farmers
$20, whatever it
markets. What do
is.
they call the flea markets?
The flea markets, farmers
Definitely.
markets, yeah. So I was actually watching them in terms of like do's and don'ts of negotiating. And so, it's funny some of the stuff that I saw, like in terms of negotiating the I don't know what to call it, the flinch or the double take,
Yeah.
or if somebody says, well, how much for that book, and you say $5, and they go, whoa, oh my gosh, it's $5. Maybe they're thinking in their mind, sweet, I can get it for $5, but
Yes.
you still kind of question that, whoa, that's kind of high. Make the seller think that you might actually walk away and then counter and bring the price down a little bit. One of the other things that I saw them do yesterday was bundle. So my son would say, well, each book is 50 cents, but if you buy four books, I'll give it to you for, a dollar or, $1.50 or something like that,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like the buy one, get one kind of thing, the bundling kind of thing. Um, certainly walking away. I had a lady
Walking away, yes.
I had a lady, well, and as the seller letting them walk away, I had a lady approach me. We were selling one of those. It was a rack that had what, like 12 different bins on it to hold all their toys, and it was in really good shape. And but we just didn't need it anymore. We don't have room for it anymore.
Sure.
And I think at the store they go for like $50, $60. And so somebody asked me, how much do you want for this? And I said 10. And they went, nah, and they walked away.
That's it.
And part of me was like, good, because I don't know that I would have wanted to get rid of it for a dollar or $2 or $3. Maybe I would have gone to $5 or $6. Now, eventually, later in the day, someone came and bought it for 10. So holding out actually worked in that
Okay.
scenario.
Yep.
Um, Here's something that I kind of alluded to earlier. Everything yesterday was cash, which I was okay with. But I wonder if I would be comfortable letting my kids accept or pay through like a Venmo or
Yeah.
something like that.
Very popular nowadays if you think about it.
Yeah, it is, but they're kids, and so I don't want them to get taken advantage of by somebody.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. You can set up the account, right? Something that you can have available. Um, I would say have it linked to an account that has nothing in it. So it's a dummy account that may has maybe $5 in it, whatever it is, and any money that flows into the account itself, even if let's say somehow there's some kind of fraud or hacking with it, it's tied to an account that's not large. There's nothing, there's no risk to it.
Right.
But it is getting popular when we talk about cashless. It's kind of weird, right? When we say garage sale, but like, hey, do we take Venmo? I take tips as well if you're up for
Right.
giving up money as well. So it's one of those kind of things that I'm like, okay, like yeah, there's some risk to it, but a lot of these companies, they really are taking pride in reducing fraud and making these types of transactions safe.
Right.
So it's one of those kind of things where like I get the horror stories and those kind of things, but I would say take the precautions, right? Set it up to an account that's not used for any main. Obviously, if it's going to be, nothing does have to be in the kids' account. Again, it's, you're kind of working through with them, so it could be something that you sponsor or have the account associated with. And when you're doing those types of things, have a clear sign. Hey, if you're going to pay by Venmo, here's a QR code.
Right.
Here's here's the address to send it to. I like the idea. It's just, obviously people are going cashless. There's just a lot less and less people, but it's not that I guarantee you, you're still people who are going to garage sales are still carrying cash. The
Yeah.
power of cash is still there. Negotiation with cash is still there as well. So I think having the option as our generation starts to change, you'll see that there's a lot more flexibility that they're looking for. So
Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't
And that was
I don't mind that.
Ve- Venmo would have been a good idea had I thought about it yesterday, but because I didn't make any cash, and so like the
Ah,
first person that came by, they
takes
I
everything.
I sold something for like $5, and they gave me a 20, and I'm like, I don't have $15 to give back to you, so
Sure.
I had to wait and figure it out, and I gave them quarters, and it was this whole thing, but yeah, I probably could have very easily said, here's my Venmo code. Just Venmo me the whatever, $5, whatever it was. Um, so the other thing that I was kind of talking to them about, some of the don'ts of negotiation, some of the don'ts of selling. And one of the big things that I learned was not to make excuses. So not to talk negatively. This used to happen all the time. My wife
Okay.
would put something out for the garage sale, and I'd say, "What are you putting that out for? It's broken." She'd be like, "Oh, someone might want to buy it, try to fix it." And I'm like, "No, it's broken. Let's." toss it. You don't want to try to sell somebody something and then say, yeah, but it doesn't work. Here's a vacuum cleaner without a plug. Go
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
it.
So yeah,
So
yeah, I wouldn't sell that. That's you may recycle that, but I would agree with you there. So again, the quality of the product that you're selling. Some people, although again, depends too. Like some people you might think it's like old, but again, if it's broken, yeah. I would say, be careful with those kind of things as you sell it. Some people like getting for pieces. So you just don't know. You just don't know.
yeah,
It's a judgment call because you'll be surprised you can go online and be like, for even eBay, go to those kind of things. There's a ton of stuff that are just like bought for parts.
hmm,
People who buy those kind of things, surprisingly enough, they may not pay full price, of course. If you,
no,
pay 25, if you get 20 cents on the dollar or something like that, that's still pretty good in regards to getting that back for that product. But at the same time, I'm like, again, see what the demand is. Because
right,
if you make the judgment call at the beginning where it's like, guys, it ain't coming back in the house. Your anything that's broken will probably come back in the house, or again, go to the dumpster at the end of the
right.
day. So
And
I think you're right on that.
I think at least you disclose, hey, it's broken. So if you're going to buy
Yes,
it, you're going to buy it for parts, or if you're going to buy it, you're going to buy it to fix it up. So
yes.
disclose that it's broken. But all in all, good day. I'm curious. My kids are on their way back from Walmart right now, so I'm curious if my son got his investor to buy those used golf balls for him. We'll have to figure that out if he
I
found
love
the
it.
angel investor. But
Love it. Hey, smart kid, mom, hey, dad, hey, grandma, hey, neighbor, hey, whoever it is, I got this proposal, right? And
right,
it's this bridge I'm here to sell you. No, but
do I?
it's one of those kind of things where you gotta give him credit for like, hey, how do I make this easier to still be able to, do what I need to do? Because you do the same thing with business, right? If I can get
Yeah,
an investor, it makes it easier to get the start. But that means you believe in the idea. He believes in the idea itself. I just need somebody to invest in that idea. So you gotta
exactly,
give the kid credit. I love that.
exactly. So um, I don't know anything else.
I would say, for folks young and old, I always still say that the garage sale is a great opportunity, not only to, again, I always look at it, meet neighbors, meet new people. Obviously, your opportunity to get rid of things and still be able to make some money off of it. There's certain things that you're just not using. If your garage is growing in multitude of boxes and things like that, great opportunity to really purge is one way, but it's just like, what, let's see if we can make a little bit of extra cash.
Yeah,
Times are there, right? Everybody is feeling the pinch. This is a great opportunity to be able to get out there, sell some stuff, and really, make a little bit of money, but at the same time learn a few new skills
right,
as part of that. Your boys are probably going to make it's going to be a lot easier for them when they're ready to negotiate for that car,
right,
for that, that method of walk away, that method of, what price range do you want to have? Be prepared for the negotiation. I mean, you think about it, they're not buying a house. No one's buying a house at the garage sale. They're buying, a lawnmower or an old pan or something like that. So I think it's learning those skills in a low pressure situation gives you the opportunity really to really understand what's needed, learn without huge risk, and then be able to really come back and go, okay, here's a car. Let's see if we can apply the same skill sets with a little
although
bit more zeros.
I was thinking when you said that, how much fun would it be if the garage sale were on April 1st and you walk around the neighborhood and you just take like a $500,000 sticker and slap it on a garage?
I don't think you make a lot of friends there.
Probably not. I wouldn't do it to my own house, but it would be fun. So,
No, I like
uh,
it. I like the
yeah.
idea though.
So, yeah, I mean, again, what if you're listening, what we would love to know is what tactics do you pick up at a garage sale? Have you practiced at a garage sale? Or maybe a challenge to the listeners to go out and practice at garage sales to get better at negotiating other things, like you said, house, car, services from vendors, all that kind of stuff. Can't hurt to practice those skills at a garage sale. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
one of those.
bundling. You said bundling and the walkaway method, and all of these methods itself sound great on paper, but man, go to your flea market, go to a garage sale itself. You may find that Pokemon or that one painting that's worth millions of dollars that you got for $5. You just don't know. You just don't
Yeah,
know. I would say. I mean, I love. There's a guy on YouTube. Guy's name is Froggy Flips, famous YouTuber, and all he does is going to like card shows and garage shows, or garage sales, things like that, and he's always looking for a deal. And he's
right.
like, hey, what about these two things? What about, and it's always that bundling, and then he's so friendly with everybody, and everybody's like, oh yeah, yeah, no, no. So it's one of those kind of things that, even if you don't, have success in regards to the garage sale, you never know. You could start your own YouTube channel and go out there
That's
and do some stuff on YouTube based off of your garage sale adventures.
so my younger son is taking a summer camp on from this eye coding summer camp, but the particular class that he signed up for is YouTube. So I guess
Nice.
they'll be learning how to create YouTube channels and put up YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff. So
Great.
we'll see. We'll
More good
see.
skills.
Maybe he'll be the next millionaire on YouTube. We'll
There
see.
you go.
So anyway, if you want to help us create our fund for the next garage sale so we can go out and buy stuff, it's patreon.com/crushing debt. And actually, I'm kidding. That is the Patreon page for the show. But we're not going to use that money to go blowing it at garage sales. We're going to use it to put it back in the show. Also, I want to mention our longtime friend and sponsor, Sam Cohen. If you're an attorney or title company, you need malpractice coverage. It's Sam at Attorneys First Insurance. Other than that, I think I do hear that my kids are finally home, so
Uh-oh.
we're gonna have to. I had a quiet house. I got all kinds of work done this morning. It was fantastic. But they're home
It
now,
was
so
fantastic. You're a little too happy there, buddy. Relax there.
I love my kids, but it's also great to have some quiet time to catch up here
I gotcha.
on the computer. So,
Well, I say good show, and happy hunting for those who are going to their garage sales and doing those kind of things itself. So hopefully you get that good deal on those old shoes.
yeah, shoelaces, shoelaces. That's what I'm looking for. Shoelace. I actually had one of the weirdest things I ever had happen at a garage sale, and then I'll wrap up the show. But one of the
Sure.
weirdest things I ever had happen at a garage sale, we were selling some of the kids' old stuffed animals that they weren't using anymore. And some woman comes by the house and, hey, I want to buy the bucket of stuffed animals. And so two things actually that were pretty funny. I said, well, for the whole bucket, whatever number I threw out, $20 for the whole
Mm.
bucket or something like that. And she said, oh, does that include the bucket? And I went, no. For $40, you can have everything, including the bucket. Because I
Right.
didn't want to,
Right.
because those buckets, I don't want to sell those buckets. But what she was buying them for were dog toys. Speaking of stuff that your dog's going to chew up. So she would go to garage sales and buy stuffed animals to give to her dog so that the dog would chew those up instead of destroying the house.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
15 of them in my house, and yet he's like, let me attack the plugs. So yeah, well, maybe it was the 16. I just miscounted on the toys. Next time, Sean. Next time.
Next
It's all
time.
good.
So, anyway, I think that will do it for this week's episode. Again, let us know what skills you've learned at garage sales, what tips, what techniques, what tactics. It's a great environment it's a low stress environment. It's a
Yep.
great environment to practice your selling skills. So, I think that will do it for this week's episode. Next time you go to a garage sale, I hope you have more money at the end of the month than month at the end of the money. And we will talk to you in next week's episode.